Hello, everyone. How are you? I don't know why I asked that, because it's not like I can hear you. But I hope you're good. Uh, we have a project, a video project. And I decided to choose for my video project ways to ramp learning on sight words. Now, in my experience, I work with younger students, specifically VPK, preschool, little guys, those little ones. So this is very introductory for them. A lot of the tools that I have are going to be introductory, but that's not to say that they can't be revamped for students all the way up to high school. So I'm going to walk through a couple of them because the examples that they gave on the little links that were provided were just flashcards and different ways to use flashcards. And don't get me wrong, I use flashcards, but it's the only thing that I don't have on me today. They're sitting at the school. So yeah. But yeah, flashcards, obviously a great option when you're trying to teach sight words, but there's so much more to sight words than just the word itself. First, let's kind of define what a sight word is. And a sight word is, well, essentially a word that you can recognize just off of sight alone. There's not necessarily an amount of sounding it out. It's more of, I see that word, I've seen it before, I've memorized it, and I can say it. But getting them to understand the application of it may be different. So that's why we kind of have all of these tools. Because I'm a hoarder, and you never know, right? So what is the best way to teach sight words and to vamp understanding of it? There isn't one. There's no singular best way. The best way is whatever way works for one particular student. If you're able to get a bunch of them clumped together under one specific practice, great, awesome. But that doesn't make it the best practice. The best practice is whatever is going to work for each individual student, which is why we hoard. We have tons and tons of stuff because you never know. And I plan on getting more because hoarding. So let's go through a few of these little tools that I have and things that I use with just my VPK. And for a couple of them, I'll kind of talk about how we could vamp those up to work with older students. Again, high school might be a reach. By high school, we should know sight words, but we never know. You never know. You're going to have different students of different learning levels and different capabilities. So always be prepared and hoard everything. Okay? So let's get into it. All right. So the first thing that I have we'll go with the game first. Why not? This little game right here. It's literally called Fishing for Sight Words. It's a very proactive game. Hands-on, tangible, sensory-friendly, question mark. It's kind of all plastic. It can also pose a bit of a dangerous threat to those who are swinging around too much. These are magnets. These are magnets. I don't know if you just saw the little fish that just dropped off, but there's a board that comes with it, and using the board, you got to kind of put these little sight words on there. You fish for them, and it's great for review. So I have. Look at me. I'm a fisherman extraordinaire already. But in this classroom and in this world, we catch and release, especially our little sight words. But yeah, this is just one fun little game. I'm definitely going to encourage, especially for younger students, as many game-style things as you can do. That's going to reach them the best. Because when they think of it as a game, they're learning, but they're not thinking of it as like, I'm sitting down and listening to a lecture. You know, it's like I said, it's proactive, it's engaging. What I usually do is I have a karaoke microphone. Again, it's at school right now. And I play a game show with the kids. And it's ridiculous, but it's so much fun because I will create a sentence on the board, have them come up one at a time, and select one of the flashcards and put it in the blank to see if they got it right. And ding, 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 they'll win a chance to go and sit back down. Wow, just riveting, I know. But games are a great way to kind of help the process along. Instead of just sitting there, doing flashcard after flashcard after flashcard, repetition is so important. I'm not trying to downplay that, but what if we can find alternative ways to do that repetition? Now, one of the things that I mentioned was the application of it, and this is where these kind of tools come into play. For my younger students, I like to incorporate books. I'm so big on books of all different types. And most of the books that I read are obviously gauged for younger audiences. I highly recommend Groovy Joe. That's my dude. But if you want to, you could ramp up the reading aspect of it a little bit more. And my VPK students absolutely love the Magic Tree House, the OG Magic Tree House. They also make a graphic novel. The only reason I would shy away from this is that it is literally page after page after page of limited dialogue, limited words, and a lot more pictures. So it could work in the context of we need a visual to represent what's actually happening, whereas in these books the pictures are really only every other page or so. But when I read these, I usually just read it and then show the picture afterwards. So using books like this will help bring those sight words into context for these students. And so yeah, books. Always utilize books and give them a chance. Kind of an annex onto that point is I give them these, where did I put them? I give them these little badges. Anyways, they're little, here they are. I give them these little badges, right? These little things, and they have lanyards that go with them. And inside of them, right now this says assistant teacher because, I like giving them, a little bit of authority, that never goes wrong. But inside of these, you could put an actual sight word, right? Especially of the ones that you guys have reviewed or maybe a new one. And whenever you have an opportunity to allow the students to kind of free roam in centers or reading their books, if they find an example of that sight word on literally just a paper note card, they can take it out, write down the sentence that it's in, and then turn it into you at some point in time during the day or whenever you allocate it. Again, it's engaging, it's proactive, it's kind of looked as like a game, a search and find. You got to go find a book, find a sentence that has your sight word, and bring it back to me. It's just a good way to engage. And again, it's not just repetitive flashcards. The other one I saw was the racetrack one. I think that's great. It's probably not the best to do over and over and over because that will become redundant and it'll feel less like a game and more like an assessment, which it kind of is. But we don't want them to know that, right? So yeah, if we want to go further with that route of we want to give a student a certain sight word responsibility for the day, for the week, probably not the month, but along those lines, these little booklets are awesome, and they're dirt cheap. They're dirt cheap, people. You buy them on Amazon, and they can if they're at writing level, they can write down the word and the sentence, or you can literally just have them write down a word if they're younger and draw a picture, anything of that nature. This is where I go over the top. And I understand, budgeting is a thing. Not every school is going to be able to afford all these books. The Magic Tree House books, they ain't cheap, especially the graphic novels, which is why, again, I don't really recommend them. And the sight word fishing might not be the least expensive option, but this one's going to be the most expensive option. So only do this if you know your budget is like, we got to hit it so that we can make more money next year. This is where this one comes into play. I created this little baggie, and this little backpack usually hosts a special creature inside of it, a stingray, which is our mascot of the classroom, stuffed animal. And the kids will go out and they'll get this little Polaroid that instantly prints it out, and they'll take pictures with the stingray of things that they did over the weekend. And we annex that by saying, our stellar stingray friend really likes to see the sight words you're working on. So anytime that they're out and about with family or at home and they see their sight word, they get a chance to take a picture with the sight word, with the creature. We get kind of a better, closer look at how things are going on at home and the things that they get to engage in outside of class. But this is extreme. This is not cheap. There are alternative options, almost everybody's got a phone nowadays, so taking a picture, emailing it, that sort of thing. It's literally the Flat Stanley. If anybody's familiar with Flat Stanley, it's the Flat Stanley concept, just amplified to bring it home and stuff like that. The last thing, and probably the most affordable and practical, if you're trying not to go too over the top with the sight words things, but come on, we're teachers. We should be going over the top with everything, right? That's kind of in So, nature of the beast. Is if we're going to be directly teaching sight words, this bad boy right here. It doesn't have to be this specific book. It doesn't. It could be any book. They make so many of these. I got this at like a Barnes & Noble's that was closing for $2. That's a thick boy right there, with sight words for days. But it's not just sight words. It's activities, right? So again, we want to find ways to engage them. They do these activities. They can take them home. They can do them in class. I split it because there's so many pages worth, and I have multiple books because I'm a hoarder. But I do split. I do some of them in the classroom with them so that they can understand and kind of analog the ideas of what these worksheets are expecting of them. And then once they have a rubric, they get to go home with their fun time, their fun packets. Because if I call it a homework packet, it's a whole thing. They're fun packets, which are essentially not the exact same, but similar to these kinds of worksheet pages. And again, there's so many, and they're not all the same. Like this one's got like a search and find. This one's got fill in. And with these, you can always find age levels that work for you. This one might be a little too advanced for preschoolers. Some of these I kind of shied away from. You can make mass copies of these. Hopefully you have a copy machine wherever you work. If not, we need to send an email to someone important because everyone deserves a copy machine at their school. But there's also scan option on your phone and then finding some way to print them or email them. Honestly, anything works. But this is also a direct approach that isn't specifically flashcards. All of that said, it's really not a problem to have flashcards. You should have them in your classroom somewhere. They're not that expensive on Amazon. I like there's I wish I had them with me, but I like the ones that have big letters. They are lowercase. Almost all of them are lowercase for the most part. And they're not color coordinated, right? Because if they get color coordinated, kids they're smarter than you give them credit for. They're going to figure out, oh, well, that one's an orange one, so it must be either this or this. If you think that's something that would help that particular student, great. But again, we don't want to lean them into learning, the memorization based off of a color or a pattern. We want them to learn the word. So the ones that I have are fantastic, and it's just the word, and that's it. And those are the ones we use in the game show. So lots of things like that can really help. And then the last thing I'll say is when they've actually accomplished finding their sight word for the day, if they've registered their lanyard for the day, or they've just finished backpacking with Stella the Stingray on the sight word adventures, make sure you reward them. Okay, there's no drawback to rewarding kids for who actually do what they're supposed to do. Even the ones who just try, especially at young ages, it's okay to do participation trophies sometimes, because they like this visual. They like something tangible that they can take home. They're gonna go crazy for it, and it's gonna reinforce everything you just taught them and everything you worked for. Like, I got this because I was able to find the word "the." It's such a big deal to them. And honestly, when you see that in them, it's a big deal to us too. So that's just a couple ideas. That's just a few things I use with my VPK. You can ramp all of these things up for older students. High school, again, might be a little beyond my pay grade, but middle schoolers and stuff, they love the engagement, they love games, and as long as they're registering it as something that isn't direct learning, as soon as they are in the mindset of, oh God, I'm in school right now and this is teaching time, they're going to tune you out. So find as many ways possible to engage them. And again, these little booklets, they're so cheap. Please invest in these. They're awesome. But yeah, with all these options, invest in your books, invest in your flashcards, and invest in your students. And I think you'll find that sight words come along pretty easily for them. So yeah, I hope this helps.